Well, we're back on the Big Bear. The guy said, fix it. And I gave him a quote on what I thought it'd take to fix it. And he said, fix it anyway. He is going to be happy with that. So we're going to continue on with this thing. Before, we went through and diagnosed the charging or the electrical system with no spark. The electric start wouldn't work. And we found out that the CDI box was indeed bad. However, I happened to have come across, that's right, not a new one, but another used one. And I plugged this into the other Big Bear I had here, the green one, and it made spark. So we're going to try it in this one and see if we regain our spark. And then we'll move on to carburetor. We got to get the brakes working, that kind of thing. You know, got to stop if you're going. I know brakes are for sissies, but sometimes they're just necessary. So we're going to follow all this up with brakes and do a few other little things to it. But first of all, we're going to start with this sweetheart. We're going to plug this baby in and see if we actually get some sparkles. Alrighty, we need to be looking right here. That's the end of the spark plug wire. And sometimes you really can't see this very well on camera because the camera runs about the same speed as the spark does. So sometimes you catch it and sometimes you don't. But let's crank her over and see what we get here. I know you're only seeing it once in a while on camera because of the frames, but it has spark. That's awesome. That means we can continue on repairing this sweetheart and actually make a good four-wheeler out of it again. Because that's what we like doing. Taking junk and making it useful. That is one of my favorite things to do anyway. I don't know about yours, but that's awesome. I'm pretty giddy about that. Now the next thing is I have the starter interlock relay that I purchased for this sweetheart as well. And we're going to see if we put that in, does our electric start actually crank with the button? Because I was cheating and I was jumping it straight to the solenoid. Now I'll be the first to tell you, I don't have a lot of faith this relay is going to fix a darn thing. But we'll take our jumper wire out of here and we'll install the relay and see what happens. Got to put it in the right way first of all. Now, you know it's high quality when it won't even plug in. Well, crap. We'll have to modify it a bit and then see if it'll connect. Right now, oh, there it goes, hot dog. All right, that's plugged in. We got to put our battery in and then we'll see if we actually have spark or not. Or we know we have spark, see if we have electric start or not. Remember, plus first, minus last. There's our plus. Now we'll hook up our minus, or negative. All right, let's turn the key on to see if we got anything at all. We have a neutral light. Holy cow, we got starter. Do we not have starter when it's in gear? The interlock even works. Boy, this project's just coming right along. Amazing. All right, the choke cable we can put on easily after it's mounted, but that we needed to do now. You know what, let's go ahead and put the lid on it, because, you know, it's the right thing to do. Voila, that's all done. Now we'll go ahead and set our sweet carburetor in place. That is one stiff boot. Ay, chihuahua. We need some silicone spray or something. Well, what do you know about that? Only a CDI and a carburetor and a spark plug boot and a few other things and poof, it runs. Yep, you throw enough parts at something and you might get something to work. I think that is pretty stinking wonderful. She started. Woohoo! We're not done yet. It was running real lean and kind of hesitating when I gave it throttle because there's no airbox in it. there's a hose down here somewhere that connects to this. And let's see, how does that actually work now? Let's get our airbox in correctly, and then we'll figure that out. We got to take these two screw-up bolts out, and the airbox goes underneath the plastic there. Now I probably want to leave these out anyway, because we've got to get this rear plastic to come up in order to get the CDI box mounted under it. We want to let that stay back as far as we can while we put this boot on. You got to loosen these clamps up because they are completely tightened down. We're going to loosen this one way off. The other one's loosened off quite a bit already. Come on, baby, get in. Ah, there we go. One side done. That goes to the carburetor right there. So we're good with that. Now let's go ahead and pop this other side under where it belongs. That clip can go up there. We'll get her. Here, our plastic persuader, if you will. I'll scoot it forward a while. And then do the same thing over here. There we go. Those go under there like that. There we go. We can put the other one on afterwards. After we get all this sweet stuff in place. That goes in there like that. This needs to go down and forward. Are you too good for your home? Ah, there it goes. Whew. Airbox in place. Everything's kind of sitting where it should. Nothing's too bad. Might not be too good either, but not too bad. All right. Let's tighten up the back clamp to the carburetor. Carb vent line. Goes on there and on there, like so. All right, we're gonna take the rack mounts loose and these two bolts out, and that'll give us enough room to eat this plastic up to get the CDI mounted back up. That's that. We have a rack mount right here and another one right here. Like that. Let me go do the two on the other side, since now you know where we're looking. That'll do. That'll get us up high enough. This is a CDI box just chilling out here, and it gets mounted to the cross member down here, like so. I got to find me a couple of bolts to put in there, because of course they're gone. It has less wires and such. Yeah, that's good enough to smack my hand. These babies in the right place. Get our auto screw bolt starter. Get it going the right way. Yep, those are going to work good. Some holes in this thing are pretty rusty, and that would be one of them. There we go. And one more. There we go, all torqued and ready to go. I would suggest that's tight enough. So is that. All right, the next thing I gotta do is actually get some brakes working on this thing. Okie doke. And one. And what size do you think that is? Turns out it's a 24, if anybody asked you. There we go. That's enough precision. Come on now. Don't be obtuse. Just come off. There we go. The crap wound up in there. Looks at this. This is probably a sign of things to come. All that rust on there. Got a feeling we're going to hit the gold mine of rust in here. Arm out. Should have got a bigger hammer. Oh, damn, I did break it. We'll have to figure out how to fix that. Oh yeah, that's nice. That is what we're finding in here. That was wishful thinking. I'm going to guess these are all seized up, the looks of these, because they got ears broke off of them already, or somebody's had the pliers on them. Let me get an 8mm and something to break the other side of that off. Oh, good. This one's going to come loose too. It's a one-winged wing nut. Get those out of there. Let's get our spring out of the picture here. Let him hang there. Now then, let's get this little love tap backwards to release the brakes a bit and see if the drum wants to come off now. I don't think it's very interested in coming off. We're going to have to talk it into it. Hey, caramba. Try to get that somewhere centered in a position in the middle of the run. Well, I'll bring you right back. When these get rusted, they get a ridge built up behind the shoes in here. So there's always a taller place that you have to work the shoes across. There really isn't any other way to do it, except what we're doing. The problem really isn't here, it's around the shoes. So I'm going to give it a shot. Figure out about where that can be the least. some dust she makes. She feels looser every time I do that. Yeah, what do you think of that? Might have worked. It's probably not too much less round than it was. Yikes. The good news is the brake shoes look good. Bad news is that thing just doesn't want to move. We can fix that though. Pop our shoes off there. Wow. Man, this thing, she's had the proverbial meat. There we go. Now then we'll pop her arm off. Sure, this has one thread missing. All right, and then we just got to drive this sweetheart out. That's what happens to these things. They get all built up on here, and then they get tight. They get grime and junk in them. So we're going to clean this up with a wire wheel, and then we're going to clean that out with a brush, lube it all up. This baby will be good to go. Be right back. That'll get some of that down in the hole, because this O-ring is going to scrape most of this off. Like that. Let's get all the excess out of here, since it's where the brakes run. Oh yeah, that's even better. Pretty happy with that. That'll do the job. All right, we got to clean this drum up. It is in pretty sad shape. So we're going to get after this thing, and I'll get it cleaned up and I'll bring you back. Alrighty, we got our brake drum cleaned up a little bit. I'm going to apply some grease to our splines here. Just enough to fill them up a tiny bit, so when I slide this drum back on, it doesn't goo up a bunch of grease inside there. That would not be very good, so we want to just leave a little bit on here. Kind of like that. That'll do. Alrighty, see what our shoes are like here. Not too bad. They're cruddy, but they're not worn bad. Oh, you know what? That wasn't a very good idea. Let me lay this over the shaft here so I don't get it all junked up again. I know they look like hell, but I think they're going to work just fine. Just like that, I think. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. Alrighty, I'm going to reassemble this thing and see how we get along. Hate that. Put a little silicone on there. And we'll set this sweetheart back on here. I think I want to start a couple of screws before I Get that thing all the way on there. Alrighty, where's my wounded piece of backing plate? Set him in here and put that screw in there. Now, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other screws holding this together. And this is beyond the seal. So I don't think we're hurting anything here, but I will advise this guy that I broke that and see what he wants to do about it. Alrighty, we should have brakes on the rear now. That's pretty awesome. Front brakes, that's a different story altogether. There we go. I always try to buy fairly long cotter pins because you can always shorten them up, but you really can't make them longer. Alrighty, let's replace our front master cylinder because I cannot get it to bleed up. When I crimp the hose off, I still can't get it to bleed up. So I'm pretty sure this is our problem. First thing I want to do is get any excess fluid out of here that I can get out without spilling it absolutely everywhere. Suck some of this fluid out of here. There we go. Pop the line. Should be a 12. And it is. May want to loosen that up again here in a little bit, but we'll tighten it up for now. Put some brake fluid in it and start the slow process of bleeding this sweetheart out. You can see the bubbles coming up out of it. That's just getting it started. This does not have a plate in it that keeps the fluid from squirting to the moon whenever you pull the lever in. Then we'll put this cap on. We're going to let this thing set for a while, just like it is, and see if that pressure comes up. See if we get better pressure on our lever. And it's not bad. And it still runs. I think that'll probably do it for the front brakes. And we got the rear brakes fixed. Hopefully I got some of that on camera. So, I think, let's see, what else do we need to do this thing? I see we have an oil leak around the oil filter. So I hate to mess with it, but I want to take a look at it. See if it's actually dripped any out since it's been sitting here. And it may have. All right, I'll bring you back. All right, we got our oil filter cap off. This is our oil filter sitting in here. Take a look at it real quick. It looks all right. And it is the screen type, the original Yamaha screen type. So we are going to essentially set that aside, clean it up with some contact cleaner and put it back in. Contact cleaner and blow this screen out. I don't really see anything in it to speak of. Our filter will only go in one way. There's a hole on this end, and there's not on that end. This whole thing just kind of sets back over the filter. Make sure you get the filter caught and then push everything up in place as you go. Let me turn the throttle down on this thing. There we go. Yeah, I wonder how many Ugga Duggas does a 6mm bolt need? Oh yeah, that'll do. Well, I went out and test rode this thing, and the front brakes sound horrible. So we're going to pull this off and find out if we got any pad left on them or what's going on with them. I was hoping we wouldn't have to go that deep, but we are. So let's pop our front wheel off and take a look at our brakes. Oh yeah, let me show you what I'm seeing. That right there is a brake pad that has no material left on it. It is metal to metal. Now this is a little rough. We're not going to replace it, but it's a little rough. And I'm sure the inside is just as bad. But that's what we got going on here. And they look like FA84s. I'd have to check that, but EBC FA84s is what they look like. Well, we got two 12mm bolts. We're going to take those out, and we should be able to get this caliper off. However, yeah, let's pull it off first and see what kind of condition our piston and stuff is in before we start pushing it back. Seems like a good plan. Of course, that's the wrong length. Or is that? That feels right. There we go. Another one out. Oh yeah, there's no pad left on either side. Look at that. There is nothing left. I think I'm gonna get some brake clean and or some contact cleaner and clean that piston up just a touch. And what you know, we just filled up our front master cylinder, so we got to drain some fluid back out of it. Either that or loosen the bleeder and drain it out this way, which, yeah, that might be what we do. Yeah, some of it's hitting the pan. Got a pan down on the floor to catch it. I don't know about your dog, but my dog is a very fair-weathered dog. Loves being out here when the sun's shining. When it's raining, he's whining. We'll loosen our bleeder. Just a twidge. And while it's dripping, we'll push this piston back. All right, that caliper's back. Tighten up our bleeder so we can quit making a mess. And that's the brake pads we have. There we go. There's one pad. Well, what used to be a pad. Now she's just a backing plate. And there we are. That's why our brakes sound like poo-poo. Because there's no pad left. These things get maintained so well. It's unbelievable how well they get maintained. We might as well pull the other side off while we're at it. It's not going to be much better, I'm sure. Well, she's finally done. We got a new fuel gauge put in. Got brake pads put on the front. and she runs. That's the neatest part. Let's take her for a little spin. Oh, wow, this thing is the reason four-wheelers have power steering now. It's the reason it's an option. This is a hard turning turd. A little hard shifting too, but the clutch is adjusted right. Anyway, she runs good, she stops good. Outside of the stuff, it just is what it is, such as the hard steering, hard shifting. You gotta remember, this thing is not new. So let's just recap here a second. We got this thing running good. We had to change out the carburetor, and we also had to diagnose and make sure the ECM was the problem, and it was. We got a used ECM and put in it. We put a new front brake master cylinder on it because it wouldn't build pressure at all. Then I took it for a test drive, and the brakes sounded like something was coming out from underneath this thing. And it turns out the pads were just metal to metal on the front. The rear had the brake arm, the shaft that goes in there to make the brakes work, seized. We got that taken care of. And lubed some cables. Lots of other miscellaneous stuff to get this sweetheart running like it should. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with it. It runs good, stops good, and goes good, so it can now go back to its owner. Guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you comment down below anything you'd like to say, anything I did right, anything I did wrong, whatever. I don't care. I'll be happy to respond to them, and I've got pretty thick skin. I can put up with a lot. So go ahead and leave a comment. Make sure you like, subscribe if you would. Doesn't cost you a thing, and it really helps me out. I'd appreciate it. So God bless. I'll see you on the next one.